1,400 people across 40-something offices in 16 or 18 different disciplines and all the bits in the middle. There is opportunity for everyone. Every career path, something will happen along the way. There's a fork that you get to that you have to choose a direction. And it's about identifying through conversation, right? What is that fork? What does it mean for you? Where are the options and where do we go from here?
Welcome to the People and Property Equals Progress podcast, brought to you by Lambeth Smith Hampton. Here we go beyond the bricks and mortar and take a deep dive into the fascinating stories behind the business. What makes LSH unique isn't the property market that they operate in, it's the people that drive it forward. The breadth and diversity, the imagination and the ambition of their people. Every episode, we'll sit down with an inspiring guest and they'll share their journey, their vision and their passion. So, let's get started. So, Chris, I started off by saying how great a Hollywood name you have. Chris McCartney. And you went, oh my God, I'm so introverted. Please, please, please. And I was talking about your role. Why don't you describe your role?
I'm the HR director at Lambeth Smith Hampton. That means that I support the business in terms of recruiting talent, engaging talent, retaining talent and developing that talent across the business. Really, we're here to make sure that we've got the right people to deliver the company's ambitions. And that's kind of how we pitch it as a team. I've got 10 or 12 people in the team, depending on how I cut it. And we look at learning and development, recruitment, partnering the business in terms of organisation change and identifying those kind of talented people and the programmes we need.
Do you still do in business? Because I remember when I started working with Sir Clive Woodward, one of the first things he got me to do was like a personality test. It's kind of like a colour spectrum. If you're over here, because I'm an extra, we're a great partnership, you and I. Because I'm an extrovert, I love to talk. You're going to think and listen and deliver really concise, great answers. Whereas
I probably
I'm
will.
going to go blah, blah, blah. But do you still do that? Like if you're looking at a team, do you look at who you've got in that team and think about what personality is missing?
Yes, to a certain extent. So we definitely look at it in our talent programmes and get people to think about who they are and what their style is, how they will interact and where their strengths and potentially their focus areas should be. I actually did one of those surveys over the weekend with my wife.
Did you?
And I came out as an advocate, whatever that means. Everyone has a natural tendency to act and behave in a particular way. The job that we have is to identify great people who have particular behaviours and tendencies and how they can best be deployed in the business, and then also how they can use those to progress their careers in a path that they're looking for
and be comfortable with. You know, you don't want to push someone completely, like you wouldn't put you live on TV completely out your comfort zone
or in a podcast. No,
or
absolutely.
Yeah, well, we wish. But I find it really interesting in life because I've come from an athlete background where I always knew who I was. I knew very early on my strengths, and I don't call them weaknesses, I call them opportunities for growth. So areas where I could be better if I tick some boxes. A lot of people in life get to adulthood and they actually don't know their strengths. So probably people internally who've been working with ages, you actually have to help them pull out their own strengths to actually vocalise, okay, I am good at this. And that really surprises me.
I think it's very easy for people to get into a stream of doing things and not actually take a step back, look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, and actually is there something else that they feel like they have the opportunity or the competence to get involved in. And part of the job is to really look deep into the organisation and find those people and then bring them out of that and put them into a network that will help them to kind of show that.
In skiing, we used to say in the Norwegian ski team who I ski with, happy girls ski fast. So happy employers deliver more. But actually some people think work and happiness and passion can't coexist. And I remember I've got a business with my husband and we were very fortunate to speak at a Brilliant Minds business session once. And we got on stage and they said, so how does this work, being married and running a business together? And I said, it's fantastic because I love talking, I love opening doors. And Dougie loves all the background stuff. He loves invoicing, he loves doing the finances. And he's like, actually, can I just stop you there, Chemmy? I don't like any of that, but I have to do it because you won't do it.
Exactly.
And it was a real wake-up call for me because I'd gone foot first into something that I enjoyed and I thought that he was as well. So it is really important to find people who are maybe, because LSH is so big, there is definitely a role for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. 1,400 people across 40-something offices in 16 or 18 different disciplines and all the bits in the middle. You know, there is opportunity for everyone. Part of the challenge of our industry is opening people's eyes and their minds to the opportunities that our industry kind of can offer, because it's not taught in schools, it's not particularly taught in universities unless you already know that you want to do that course, that degree.
Yeah, not many people at school think I want to go into property.
And part of it is, you know, so we've done these kind of things in the past where we go into schools and we're starting to do that again past COVID, who are going into schools and talking to them about how the work that we do impacts their community, and look at the things around you and look at the things that we're involved in and how you can contribute, and that opens people's eyes to the opportunities.
Yeah, bring it back to the people. It's not bricks and mortar, it's actually life-changing, community-driven projects. That's amazing. Let's talk about, first of all, very recently, a big job for you was the Ryden and the LSH offices coming together. How challenging was that for you to make sure that the right people were in the right positions when two completely different companies were merging?
It's a difficult thing to do because, in effect, that change is forced on people. It's a decision that's not in their hands. It happens, and then you kind of have to work with those people to go, look, here's the opportunity. Yeah. Here's the benefit that we can produce for each other. Here are the opportunities that you could generate for your own career, your own experience, and therefore you're talking about what the success could be, and asking them to materialise that success, the ambition that you see in that kind of transaction.
Yeah. Is there ever like an identity crisis? Like, I thought I was going down this route and then it's been changed and now I'm here.
There can be, but then it's like any career path. Every career path, something will happen along the way where there's a jolt in the road, or there's a fork that you get to that you have to choose a direction. And it's about identifying through conversation, right? What is that fork? What does it mean for you? Where are the options, and where do we go from here? It's just about having open conversations at that point.
What's your day-to-day role at LSH? So do you have an open door policy? I'm imagining people coming in saying they're happy about this or they're struggling with this. Are you problem solving constantly?
Problem solving, but also trying to preempt the problems that are likely to come up so that we can solve them without them actually ever materialising. But a lot of what I do is try to figure out where do we want to be in 12 months' time, in 18 months' time, and pull together the programs and the people that we need involved to actually set that out in a simple, clear way that we can present and then deliver on and then make it happen.
Essentially there you're talking about shifting cultures, and earlier we talked about a big cultural shift that happened at LSH in 2007-2008 where it became less of an individual drive, bringing it into a team drive. Is that a culture that you're already still trying to infiltrate around the country?
No, I don't think so.
Or is it already there? You don't have to.
Yeah, I think that culture exists. It exists more strongly in some areas of the business than others, but that's just a natural behavioural thing. Go back to people's psychologies. But it is very much a team-based organisation. We do regular engagement surveys and feedback sessions. One of the strengths that we have across the business, irrespective of which business unit you work in, what age profile you are, which office you're in, any of those things, peer relationships comes out as probably one of the top three, if not the top two strengths of the business. And that's all about can you rely on your team? Do you have a strong team? And we have people who leave the organisation, go somewhere else, and then kind of come back and go, I just loved it here. And I think that's a real strength of the culture of our business, which is people feel like they belong to something. Like
a family. You do have a very high retention rate in terms of your employees. I mean, some people have been there for over 30 years. What is it that instills that in people? Like, is it that family, that comfort, or actually the opposite of that they know that they can actually continually be challenged in LSH?
I think it's a mixture of all of those things. There is definitely challenge every day. If you're on the coalface and you're dealing with clients, delivering service, there are always challenges that are going to be new. And I think that keeps people fresh, keeps people interested. But I think also, to some extent, there is a momentum behind the business in terms of where it wants to get to. And that creates, kind of ambition and aspiration across the business in terms of individuals, in terms of actually there's something to be here for, which possibly doesn't happen in other firms.
Yeah, definitely. We're talking about people loving places. So what is a place or, a building that has changed you and your outlook on life and why?
I thought long and hard about this one.
This is going to be good then. So now my pressure and expectation.
I'm not sure that it is. But I was trying to think of buildings that inspire me. Yeah. And actually I almost got down to categories, and
okay, I like this.
And this was all about.
We can subdivide.
It was all about the feeling you get when you go into a building, which is particularly impressive. I've been to Rome and I've been to the Far East and I've been to the Middle East, and whenever you go into some kind of religious building, there's always a feeling. And I'm not religious in the slightest, but there's always a feeling, and there's always something which is awesome about a cathedral or a temple or something like that. And then the other one on the other frame was castles. I was in Croatia with my son very recently, and we went to Klis Fortress, and
that's how all the loads of movies, all the
Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff. So but just how they got that into that place, why they put it there,
without any infrastructure that we have today.
They just make me stand up and go, what are we doing?
I totally agree that the craftsmanship of what they used to do without the technology that we've done now, and the fact that they would get involved with creating a building that might outlast them before it was even finished. I think that selfless, you hear about the cathedral in Barcelona all the time, the selfless give back. Yeah. To other people, to future legacy generations without you even seeing it. I mean, I don't think I have that in me as a personality.
One of the projects that I've seen relatively recently was the complete redesign of London Bridge. While the station was still open, everything was done around it. And just the project management, the skill of the architect, the skill of the construction to get that done, and then the shard coming out of the ground at the same time was phenomenal. There were rows and rows of cement trucks, just pouring stuff into the ground for weeks. And just the scale of it was mind-bending.
So I love that it's quite a lot of rejuvenation of old buildings, like you want to keep them alive. But part of the magic of London is that we have juxtaposition, brand new buildings next to buildings from the 1800s that are still existing. Does that make you proud to see that on a daily basis?
I love city landscape, just to see that how a city has developed, progressed, and how it has changed its focus or the use of buildings is it's just ongoing.
So Chris, what is also incredible is where you've got to now, what you're doing now, despite the fact that you didn't really know that this would be an avenue you wanted to get into. Let's talk about young Chris and what he thought he'd be doing with his life and what he'd say to you now.
Chris didn't have an idea of anything that he wanted to do with his life when he left school. Chris went to the university at the last minute, did an economics degree, came out of university and still didn't know what he wanted to do. So I kind of bounced around for a couple of years working in banks, working for financial institutions, working in retail, and then eventually...
Were you working with people in all of those roles as well?
No, I was doing financial roles, I was doing customer service, I was doing just a whole host of things. IT service desk, I mean, where I got that from, I don't know. I was doing a whole host of things. I got an opportunity to work in a HR department for a professional services firm for 4 to 6 weeks over the Christmas period. Took that, and that was my first step into an HR degree. So I was in my late 20s by then, late starter, but just fell into it.
And you've been at LSH now for 13 years.
Yep, 12 or 13.
How have you developed with your role?
So I joined as a business partner, looking after the south of the country. Did that for about 3 years and then stepped up into the director role. Stepped up into the director role in about 2017. So I've been doing this for 9 years now. During that time, there's been 3 or 4 different roles. So pre-COVID, during COVID, after COVID, and probably now is another phase. So this is probably my 4th role as the HR director. We are now absolutely on the ambition and aspiration track and growth and just exciting delivery. Yeah, it's been a real, not a roller coaster ride, but it's been a definite development ride.
So at the top of LSH there are 5, 6 of you making a lot of the big important decisions. Your personality is quite different from the others. You are the yin to their yang. How do you complement each other? What do you bring to the table to make sure that you all together make the right decisions?
Probably got to ask them that.
No, I'm asking you.
I think I bring, to some degree, a level head and a reflective voice, but also I do speak to those people on an individual basis to check in and make sure that they're getting what they need, that they have someone to confide in terms of this is what I'm thinking about, does this make sense, before they actually vocalise something that may be.
So it's like the round table in the traitors.
I am the traitor, yeah.
So you're the person who goes around and checks
yes.
on everyone.
Yeah. So
you're the glue.
It's an interesting place to be in because it's about hewing off the rough edges, making sure something's fit and proper before it gets presented, and it's got a much better chance of being successful if there's kind of collaboration beforehand.
What's the proudest thing you've done at LSH? Like, have you found someone and placed them somewhere else in the company where they've flourished? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that, but
I think part of my role is to make sure that people have the skills and capability and an ambition to do what they want to do. And whether that's inside LSH or outside LSH, I don't really mind, as long as I get the notice that something's going to change. So I think actually one of the proudest moments I've got is someone in my team who I supported, developed, got to a point where actually they'd outgrown their role and wanted a new challenge. and then work with them to figure out, right, what is that going to be and who's that going to be with? How do we make that reality for you? Whilst it's not inside, it is inside.
Yeah, it's like a mentorship, dream maker.
Absolutely.
How do you get involved with the apprenticeship schemes? Because I've seen how important they are to LSH. Not just, I've noticed, for you guys, but for clients of yours, for them to deal with, or sometimes even poach, but in a healthy way. Are you the one who finds them, who gives them that responsibility within LSH?
Effectively, I work on what does that framework look like? What does the apprenticeship program look like for people that we want to attract into the business, into those roles? And I work with a couple of people on my team to make sure that that is, attractive, but also supportive when those people are in. They tend to be much younger kind of people, probably their first role in an office environment, probably their first role, in a professional environment. So it's about having that support network in place and the structure that will enable them to, number one, feel comfortable, but number two, be able to deliver, what they want to deliver and progress at the speed that they want to progress at. So it's about getting the structure right. And then it's also then about checking in on a regular basis with that cohort. So we do bring together groups of apprentices from across the business into networks, and then it's about engaging with those networks to make sure that things are working, and if there's anything that they need, and tweaking things as we go along.
It's part of the attraction for those apprentices or anyone who actually comes to LSH that you are national and they can relocate and move around and face different cultures up and down the UK.
I'm not sure. I think that would probably be an individual choice. I think the opportunity that we present as being a national business does give you more access to different clients across the country, and that will just bring its own challenges and its own opportunity, because it's different work, more exciting work, different styles of working, whether it's public sector, private sector, whether it's an investor client or a landlord, or however you play it, you're always going to see different viewpoints. And I think that's the key to it, is about very quickly getting a real appreciation of the landscape that you're working in, and then being able to kind of flex yourself into those kind of roles.
Like mould yourself, but also challenge yourself in them. Do you do team building days?
We do team building days in terms of our talent programs. So we will have networks of maybe 15 or 30 people coming together, and part of that is social networking. But then in my team, we will do monthly team meetings, keeping people together, understanding what's going on, and then we'll do kind of a half yearly kind of get together. Everyone comes together and kind of gets on with some stuff. Across the business, we have leadership groups that will come together on an annual basis at least. We have divisional days where you'll have everyone in the same discipline coming together for technical training, business updates, and then we'll get involved in those as well.
Quite a lot of people internally at LSH know each other. That's why I was wondering where the kind of family ends, if it's just with your own team or...
There are lots of families you can be involved in, and that's probably half the positivity around it, because as we will all know from our personal lives, sometimes parts of the family are kind of more difficult than others, and you can kind of gravitate towards one that's kind of more conducive at the moment. You can have a family which is your discipline family, if you like. You can also have a family which is your office family, but you can also have a family which is your apprenticeship family, or your talent program family, or whatever that is. So there's loads of opportunities to get involved in.
I actually interviewed someone on the first podcast, and her father had just started working at LSH, and I was like, how lovely that it's multi-generational. But she was like, I was here first. The team didn't know that her dad had just been employed by LSH, so she just told us in the podcast. I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, yeah, having to take care of him. Now, we know that the industry is under lots of pressure, especially from a government point of view, and especially right now. How does the people side of LSH build resilience?
The industry has gone through cycles forever, and I think the challenge that LSH has always faced into in a really strong way is, how do we find the opportunity and the point in the cycle? And I think that will just play out. Whatever happens in the budget or in an external event, or whatever happens, the business and the people within the business will always look at it in a way that is, how do we make this work for us? How do we maximise the benefit and really drive our performance and our achievement through that kind of event.
So on that, how is the characteristics of the workforce in property? How is it evolving right now?
Well, clearly demographics. The baby boomers are withdrawing in terms of their kind of percentage of the workforce. Generation X is kind of pretty stable. Generation Z is pretty much coming up through the roof. So we have around 12 to 15% of our people are Generation Z, which is kind of your under 30s, and the demand, the expectation, the kind of way that those people want to operate is very different to Generation X and the baby boomers. So the dynamics are changing really quite quickly, and we have to adapt to that. We adapt to that in terms of how we develop our people, how we engage with our people, how we reward, recognise, and also how we communicate with our people. It's a real changing feast, and
That's
the
exciting,
next
right?
that's the
Isn't
next
it?
challenge.
Yeah.
It's the next challenge.
And when you're looking at new people coming into the business, how important is diversity and inclusivity, and why does it have a role?
The most important thing is that people want to be here. Diversity will be a natural phenomenon. The industry recognises that it's behind the curve in terms of diversity across particularly the professional services areas of our business. That's changing. It's changing rapidly, and we are really driving that kind of diversity piece across our business. Inclusion is a very different conversation. That's about making sure that people have a voice, that people feel like they belong to something, and that there's no barriers for people, irrespective of their sensitivity or their background or whatever that is. We try really hard and we work really hard to ensure that that is the case, that people are here and that they are recognised in terms of their effort, in terms of their contribution, and that those people are encouraged to progress and to go further, and that's going to be a journey, but it's something that we're on the front foot with.
You just talked then, but how do you recognise diversity? How do you broaden the reach of this industry? I mean, my dad was a chartered surveyor in the 90s, and I don't remember any women being a chartered surveyor in his team. And obviously, but you're going into schools.
Yeah, it's about the early careers platform that we have is a strong platform. We have a very good brand in that early career space, whether that is graduates or apprenticeships or work placements or whatever that is, or even just people coming into their first role in a professional environment. We have a really strong brand in that early career space. We're proud of that, and we'll continue to do that. The challenge is getting people in the first place, and that's, as you say, that's about getting out into the academic world and talking to them about the opportunities, talking to them about the impact that they can have if they choose a career in our world, in terms of their community, what it looks like, what it feels like, what provisions are in place, and it's about changing the dial in that space. But it's also about making sure that we have an open, honest, collaborative workplace for people to come and join.
So, Chris, you're not comfortable with doing a podcast, but you're going to do the tour of every school and university and stand on stage around the country. Or will you delegate that one?
I will definitely be in some. I won't be in all.
And a last question, someone on the fence thinking about getting in touch for a role at LSH, how will you give them the confidence to just do it? Caution to the wind.
Just by saying that if you want to achieve something and you feel that LSH has an offer that could potentially provide you with that opportunity, come and talk to us, because we are open and ready for business. And if there's someone out there who we feel can make that contribution, then we're interested in talking to you.
Love that. That's a great last pitch. Drop the mic. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks.
Thanks. That was great.